At 3:45 p.m. on April 27, 2011, the Smithville Police Department stood as a symbol of security, a brick building anchored into a thick concrete slab. 15 minutes later, it was gone. Not damaged, not destroyed, but gone. The building, its foundation, and even the plumbing beneath it were scoured from the earth. Forensic analysis of the ground scarring has revealed a terrifying truth. The winds did not just tear the town apart, they tried to erase it from the ground up. This is the story of a storm that defied the laws of physics. This is Smithville. April 27, 2011 was not just another spring day in the American South. Meteorologically, it was the perfect storm, a convergence of atmospheric conditions so rare and so potent that it would trigger the largest tornado outbreak in United States history. For the small town of Smithville, Mississippi, population just 942, this day would permanently alter its timeline, dividing its history into before and after. The town itself had humble beginnings. Established in 1837 and named after its founder, William Smith, for nearly 2 centuries, it had weathered countless storms as a tight-knit farming community where generations of families built their lives along the banks of the Tombigbee River. The town square featured classic small-town Americana, a courthouse, family-owned businesses, churches where everyone knew everyone, and the brick police department that served as a cornerstone of community safety. What made April 27, 2011 different began thousands of feet above the ground. 3 days earlier, meteorologists at the Storm Prediction Center in Norman, Oklahoma, had noticed something alarming developing in their forecast models. An unusually strong jet stream was positioned to collide with record levels of atmospheric instability and moisture across the southeastern United States. By April 25th, they took the rare step of issuing an advanced severe weather outlook that used the ominous phrase, particularly dangerous situation. By the morning of April 27th, the conditions had deteriorated beyond even the most pessimistic forecasts. Atmospheric CAPE values, essentially the fuel for severe thunderstorms, were measuring over 3,000 joules per kilogram, nearly triple the threshold for significant severe weather. Wind shear profiles were textbook perfect for tornado formation, with speeds changing dramatically at different altitudes, creating the rotation necessary for supercell thunderstorms. The supercell that would eventually devastate Smithville formed in Alabama around 2:30 in the afternoon and quickly developed rotation as it tracked northwest toward Mississippi. National Weather Service radar operators in Memphis watched with growing concern as the storm's rotation intensified, and a hook echo, the radar signature of a potential tornado, began to take shape. At 3:30 in the afternoon, the National Weather Service issued a tornado warning for Monroe County, Mississippi. 15 minutes later, at 3:45 in the afternoon, the tornado touched down just southwest of Smithville. What happened next would redefine what meteorologists thought possible from a tornado. When meteorologists and structural engineers arrived in Smithville the following day, what they encountered defied comprehension. The damage was so extreme, so complete, that it forced them to reconsider the limits of tornado destruction. The tornado that struck Smithville was officially rated EF5 on the enhanced Fujita scale, the highest possible rating, indicating winds in excess of 200 miles per hour. But subsequent analysis suggested this particular tornado may have produced winds approaching 250 miles per hour, pushing the boundaries of what the scale was designed to measure. The path of destruction cut 3/4 of a mile wide through the center of town. Within this path, the devastation was not just severe, it was absolute. 95% of the structures in Smithville were either heavily damaged or completely destroyed. Of those, many were not merely collapsed, they were erased. The police department building exemplified this unprecedented level of destruction. Built with reinforced concrete and brick anchored to a substantial foundation, it should have been among the most resilient structures in town. Instead, it was completely removed from the earth. Not just the building itself, but its concrete foundation and even the underground plumbing were scoured away, leaving nothing but bare soil. Forensic investigators documented soil erosion of 2 to 3 feet across wide swaths of the tornado's path, something rarely seen even in EF5 tornadoes. Asphalt was peeled from roads. Vehicles were not just tossed or rolled, they were found wrapped around tree stumps, compressed into unrecognizable masses of metal, or simply missing altogether, later discovered miles away. The human toll was equally devastating. 23 people lost their lives in Smithville that day. Another 137 were injured, many critically. The tornado's timing, striking just as schools were dismissing, contributed to the high casualty count, as many families were in transit rather than sheltered. What made the Smithville tornado particularly significant in meteorological history was its demonstration of total destruction potential. Most tornadoes, even violent ones, leave some portion of structure standing, perhaps a wall, a portion of a roof, or at minimum a foundation. Smithville challenged this understanding by showing that under certain conditions, tornadoes can essentially erase all evidence that structures ever existed. Engineers who studied the damage patterns noted several unique characteristics. The tornado exhibited extreme vertical suction forces, literally pulling buildings upward before disintegrating them. Additionally, the vortex contained multiple subvortices, essentially smaller tornadoes rotating around the main circulation, creating concentrated pockets of even higher wind speeds. These findings would later inform revisions to structural engineering guidelines and building codes across tornado-prone regions of the United States. If Smithville taught engineers anything, it was that conventional construction stood little chance against nature's most extreme wind events. The statistics and technical analysis only tell part of the story. For those who lived through the Smithville tornado, the experience was transformative, a dividing line between the lives they had before and everything that would come after. Rudy Dillinger, a lifelong Smithville resident who had taken shelter in his bathtub, described the sound. He said it was not just a freight train like everyone says. It was like standing inside a jet engine while someone was running a chainsaw right next to your ear. The pressure was so intense his ears popped repeatedly, and he thought his head would explode. Sandra Wilkins, a teacher at Smithville Elementary School, had just sent her students home when the tornado struck. She said she watched the roof peel off like someone was opening a sardine can. Then the walls just disintegrated. They did not fall down. They turned to splinters before her eyes. She was certain she was about to die. Multiple witnesses described it not as the stereotypical funnel, but as a massive churning black wall that obscured the entire western horizon. James Thornton, a truck driver who observed the tornado from Highway 25, described it as a mile-wide black monster scraping the ground like a bulldozer blade. There was no funnel shape, just this wall of darkness eating everything in its path. Sheriff Robert Denton described emerging from the courthouse basement. He said he had been in law enforcement for 26 years and had seen car accidents, shootings, and many forms of human suffering. Nothing prepared him for walking up those stairs and seeing nothing, just nothing where their town used to be. First responders spoke of the eerie silence immediately after the tornado passed. Paramedic Jessica Wolf said that usually after a disaster, you hear people calling for help. In Smithville, for the first few minutes, there was only silence. No dogs barking, no car alarms, no crying. It was as if the tornado had sucked away all sound along with everything else. There were many stories of near misses and split-second decisions that meant the difference between life and death. The Garner family survived only because they ignored conventional wisdom and fled their mobile home by car, outrunning the tornado by mere seconds. The Robertson family lost their home but survived because they sheltered in an interior bathroom, the only room left standing. Perhaps most poignant were the accounts from those who lost loved ones. Mary Edwards, who lost her husband of 52 years, described finding his wedding ring in debris nearly a quarter-mile from where their home had stood. It was perfectly clean, she said, like it had been polished and placed there for me to find. The psychological impact of the tornado extended far beyond physical trauma. Mental health professionals documented widespread PTSD symptoms among survivors. Even years later, many Smithville residents reported extreme anxiety during thunderstorms, and they described being unable to sleep through the night during severe weather. These first-hand accounts served a critical purpose beyond documenting the event. They humanized the disaster, transforming abstract meteorological data into a visceral human experience that resonated with audiences far beyond Mississippi. These stories became powerful tools for emergency management officials seeking to emphasize the importance of tornado preparedness and early warning systems. The immediate response to the Smithville tornado demonstrated both the fragility of human infrastructure and the remarkable resilience of the human spirit. Within minutes of the tornado's passage, those who could do so emerged from shelter to find a landscape so altered it was barely recognizable. With cell towers destroyed and landlines down, communication was initially limited to a handful of ham radio operators who provided the first reports to emergency management officials outside the impact zone. Monroe County Emergency Management activated its disaster plan, but quickly found that the scale of destruction exceeded anything they had prepared for. Within 30 minutes, they requested assistance from surrounding counties. By nightfall, emergency responders from 14 counties across Mississippi and Alabama had converged on Smithville. The search and rescue operation faced extraordinary challenges. Street signs were gone. Landmarks had vanished. GPS was unreliable because the physical landscape no longer matched digital maps. Rescue teams resorted to using pre-tornado aerial photographs and marking grid patterns on them to ensure they systematically searched every section of the affected area. Smithville's only medical clinic had been destroyed. First responders established a triage center in the parking lot of a convenience store on the town's outskirts. It was one of the few buildings left standing. From there, critically injured survivors were transported by helicopter to trauma centers in Tupelo and Birmingham. The Mississippi National Guard arrived by 7 p.m., bringing crucial heavy equipment to clear roads and search through debris. Their engineering units faced the grim task of searching for victims beneath collapsed buildings. They remained in Smithville for 17 days, providing everything from security to clean water. Community response transcended official channels. Churches across northern Mississippi converted their fellowship halls into emergency shelters. Restaurant owners from as far away as Memphis arrived with food trucks to feed survivors and rescue workers. Farmers brought tractors and equipment to help clear roads and recover belongings. The Red Cross established a command center at East Amory Elementary School, 10 miles away, creating a centralized location where survivors could register, connect with family members, and access immediate assistance. Within 48 hours, the center had processed over 608 applications and reunited dozens of separated families. The cleanup phase began almost immediately and would continue for months. With most local heavy equipment destroyed, contractors and volunteers from across the Southeast brought bulldozers, backhoes, and dump trucks. The environmental challenge was immense, with tons of hazardous materials including asbestos, lead paint, and household chemicals scattered across miles of countryside. The rebuilding effort revealed both practical challenges and profound community resolve. Many residents faced complex insurance battles, as some policies failed to fully cover tornado damage. FEMA assistance proved crucial, but navigating the bureaucracy was difficult for a community where many had lost all their identification documents. Among the most significant decisions was whether to rebuild Smithville at all. Some argued that relocation might be more practical than reconstruction. But at a town hall meeting held 2 weeks after the tornado, in the gymnasium of a neighboring town, residents voted overwhelmingly to rebuild. As lifelong resident Martha Collins put it, Smithville isn't just buildings. It's us. It's our history. And it's where we belong. The rebuilding process prioritized resilience. New construction featured reinforced safe rooms, concrete storm shelters, and improved anchoring systems. The town installed additional outdoor warning sirens and established a community-wide text alert system. The new Smithville would be built not just to survive, but to thrive in the face of future threats. The Smithville tornado's legacy extends far beyond the boundaries of this small Mississippi town. In its destruction and aftermath, important lessons emerged that continue to shape how we understand, prepare for, and respond to extreme weather events. Perhaps the most significant meteorological lesson was the confirmation that tornadoes can indeed produce damage that exceeds traditional EF5 classification. The enhanced Fujita scale, implemented in 2007, was not designed to capture the level of destruction witnessed in Smithville. This prompted the National Weather Service to consider potential revisions to damage indicators and degree of damage categories used in tornado surveys. The tornado also provided valuable data on multiple vortex structures within EF5 tornadoes. High-resolution radar analysis revealed that the Smithville tornado contained at least 3 distinct sub-vortices rotating around the main circulation. This helped explain the erratic skipping pattern of extreme damage observed on the ground and contributed to our understanding of how tornadoes concentrate their most destructive forces. For structural engineers, Smithville became a sobering case study. The complete removal of reinforced buildings from their foundations challenged existing assumptions about wind forces. This led to significant revisions in building code recommendations for tornado-prone regions, including improved foundation anchoring techniques and the promotion of dedicated in-home storm shelters, rather than simply designating interior rooms as safe spaces. In emergency management, Smithville highlighted both strengths and weaknesses in disaster response protocols. The importance of redundant communication systems became abundantly clear when traditional infrastructure failed completely. Many emergency management agencies subsequently invested in satellite phones, mesh networks, and other technologies designed to function when conventional systems collapse. The psychological impacts of the Smithville tornado influenced how disaster mental health services are deployed. Research conducted with Smithville survivors demonstrated that PTSD symptoms could persist for years after the event, leading to more comprehensive and longer-term mental health interventions following subsequent disasters. For meteorologists and broadcast media, Smithville reinforced the critical importance of clear, urgent communication during tornado emergencies. Analysis of survivor interviews revealed that specific wording and warnings, particularly phrases like unsurvivable and catastrophic, motivated people to take immediate protective action. The National Weather Service subsequently incorporated more explicit language in its most severe warning messages. Perhaps most importantly, Smithville became a powerful example of community resilience. The town that was 95% destroyed has been substantially rebuilt. New buildings incorporate tornado-resistant features. The town now hosts annual tornado preparedness events that draw participants from across the region. The Smithville Memorial, dedicated in 2013, lists the names of the 23 victims and serves as both a place of remembrance and education. Today's Smithville stands as a testament to both nature's destructive potential and humanity's capacity to recover and adapt. Street signs bear the names of those lost. The new town hall includes a museum documenting the tornado and its aftermath. And on the town's western approach, a sign reads, "Smithville Strong, knocked down, but never out." The 2011 Smithville tornado holds a unique place in meteorological history, not just for its extreme intensity, but for how it changed our understanding of what tornadoes can do and how communities can respond. It reminds us that even in an age of advanced forecasting and structural engineering, we must maintain profound respect for nature's most extreme manifestations, while never underestimating our collective ability to rebuild what has been lost. When the next EF5 tornado inevitably strikes somewhere in America's heartland, the lessons of Smithville will help save lives. That is perhaps the most meaningful legacy of all. Thank you for watching this in-depth look at the Smithville tornado. If you found this video informative, please hit the like button and subscribe to Tornado Attacks for more severe weather content. Share this with someone who needs to understand tornado safety, and check our website for resources on building a family severe weather plan. Remember, knowledge and preparation save lives. Stay safe out there.